I was planning to do a completely different kind of video this evening, but seeing the events that transpired throughout the day, I had to give my 2 cents about this and give you guys some input on what's happening. So, the hands off 2025 protests were today, and this has been something that has only been planned for a short while, within days from my research. And there have been thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people across the United States that have been participating in this, anti-Trump, anti-Musk protest, really. And I could go into the signs here. Basically, they're talking about how the government has turned into an oligarchy, and they are infuriated and furious about taxing the penguins and not the rich, or they are parasitical people leeching off the system. And this is the Third Reich. Instead of the Third Reich, this is the Third Reich, seeing that they're trying to make the Nazi symbolization there as well. And then you have people, so this is in Boston, New York, Chicago, Portland, San Francisco, San Diego, Idaho, Oakland, the list goes on and on and on. And you cannot help but think to yourself, what in the world is going on here? What is really happening? Okay, how is it the case that within days, looks like tens of thousands of people across the country are united? All of a sudden, there had to be some serious funding going on for this kind of stuff, because they had, the big, huge posters. They had t-shirts with Elon Musk in the crosshairs as he's doing the Nazi sign, and this is crazy stuff, right? It's absolutely bizarre. I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen something put together so fast and so just transformative, because I didn't even hear about anything like this up until today that it was happening. And after doing some research, I found out, wow, this has been only planned for a few days anyway. How in the fucking hell do these people within days get tens of thousands of people across the country to protest as a sign of whatever it is that they're trying to do? And, they're doing the Tesla dealership scandal things. They're destroying property. They're literally setting Tesla properties on fire. You can't help but think, what exactly is actually going on here? What is really happening? Because it looks like these people are protesting against financial fraud. Like they're for financial fraud, rather. They're protesting for financial fraud. And I'm no fan of Donald Trump, and I'm not trusting anything that really goes on in the government. Personally, I'm just on God's side. I'm on God's team. I try to just simply look at it for what it is, take into consideration the motives of each side, and see what the facts bear out given the situation itself. So I try to be as neutral as possible, and it looks to me like, going through all of this stuff, they're really worried about the oligarchy. And remember, we have to also think about how these people are likely being paid. I don't see how it's not possible, because this is another thing. It looked like a freaking retirement home event. There was so many old people out and about because they were upset about Social Security possibly being taken away and all of this stuff. And I just don't understand the money that is going to these people that are in Social Security. They're twisting the whole narrative. They're using the truth to tell lies, and it's infuriating to watch. But it's also telling of what they're trying to do. We have to remember, what are they trying to make the NPCs do so that we, people who are awake, are influenced to think in a certain way? Okay, remember what is actually happening, because I've literally never seen anything like this happen so quick. And somebody in the Regal Change Academy said that it looks like 2020 all over again, given the way that the protests are going and where things are going to go. I don't know if that's the case just yet, but I definitely have. It kind of feels like mild PTSD to some degree, where it's like, oh, yeah, I remember those days. I remember this is what it was like, the massive protests. And this is why the Democrats and their party is so successful in politics usually, is because their life is politics. They're only so good at politics because they don't have a life outside of it. And truthfully, I think that's an ugly existence. And it goes to show with their policies, it goes to show with everything. But again, I'm not really a fan of the Republican side either, because it's all, to me, I see one conglomerate. I see one conglomerate of trying to tyrannize you and trying to oppress you through decision making, because they'll never be able to take away our free will, but they can take away possibly our choices that we have. And that's the beauty of God giving us what we can and what we deserve through our free will, is we will always have a choice. We will never not have a choice. And thank God for that. But we do have a choice to decide which of the lesser two evils, or which of the lesser four or five, or however many evils there are. If we only have a certain amount of options, we only have a certain amount of options. And personally, I prefer tyranny over famine. If that's going to be the case, if I had to choose between tyranny and famine, I would choose tyranny, simply because at least you'll still get to eat. So at least you can still stay strong and strategize how you want to plan things out and how you want to really cultivate a new frame of being, so that you can bring about something beautiful to the world instead of the tyranny that's there. But the problem is the signals are just everywhere with each other. The Democrats are projecting on the Republicans are projecting on the Democrats, and then there's us in between that are not really on any, like, we know that it's not left versus right. We know that it's not Democrats versus Republicans. We know that it's us versus the state. We know that it's us versus the tyrannical government that's trying to enslave our minds. We know that this is a global war in which we have to fight on the roots of society. This is why I do what I do. This is why I do what I do. I cannot stress this enough. I have the Regal Change Academy because I know that the only true way to make a positive difference, I'm not going to be able to rally a bunch of, thousands and thousands of people to go protest for whatever in politics. I don't see a need for that. I don't see a need for that, because I know that if everybody followed the 10 laws of God, the commandments of God, I know that if we followed those laws, statutes, and commandments, the government would cease to exist. Control over other people would cease to exist. We would be living in heaven for all intents and purposes. The 10 commandments are a pathway to enlightenment. The 10 commandments are a pathway to greatness. The 10 commandments are a pathway to self-realization and illumination in the darkness. They want us in the dark. They want us to stay in the dark. They want you to not be able to see where you're going in this life, because they want you on their plan. And if you're on their plan, you're not going to have a plan at all. Okay, that's part of free will, is if you submit to another person's will, you willingly give up your freedom of choice. Your choice is to give up your freedom of choice, and that's not something that you can really get back. It takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of getting out of the mind control to do so. All right, so you've got to be very, very mindful of what's happening and how things are going, because if not, if you're on somebody else's plan, if you're not creating your own plan, you will end up on somebody else's designated route to hell for all intents and purposes. So I'm looking at this stuff, guys. I'm looking at this, and this is crazy. I'm just going through the images here of all of the people, and I mean, they're eating the checks, they're eating the balances too. It's so crazy. These people are nuts. And then you had people. There's tons of videos. Oh jeez, I'm scrolling through. There's another one that says super callous, fascist, racist, sexist Nazi POTUS, and it's got a rainbow flag on it. And they, like, seriously, how did they make this stuff so quick? How do they have the tools and the resources? What's so crazy, this is something somebody else pointed out in the Regal Change Academy earlier, was like, there are so many people in the country right now that are trying to get a job, trying to live their life, and they're probably paying for this stuff. Like, how are they paying for this? How are they paying for this? Well, I'll tell you how they're paying for it. They're paying it with our tax money. They're paying because they're getting unemployment benefits. They're getting all these things. They're getting all these free rides. This is why they're going to bring in the social credit score afterward. Why do you think they're getting rid of so much stuff right now? Okay, why do you think the government, why do you think Doge is really what it is? And why do you think Elon Musk has even talked about how if you can't beat them, join them with AI? AI will be, it will be a god in the near future for many NPCs out there. It will be a god because I've seen for myself in real time how AI has completely transformed businesses. Okay, I've seen it in real time, and if you have no ethical qualities about you, you're going to be able to make a lot of money really quickly using AI. And fortunately, I have ethics, I have morals, I have principles that I do not want to go crossing on, because I know that I would disappoint God, and that is literally the thing that I fear most in this life is fear. Like, I fear more than anything disappointing God and the Most High Jesus Christ. So man, guys, like, this is just crazy stuff. Leave it to the politics before before everything crashes out. You see how this is designed? That you see how for the last like 6 months, ever since November, things have been quiet relatively. Things have been kind of building and simmering, and now we're reaching like a boiling point. We have to be mindful. We have to be careful. If now's the time to get food stashed, okay? You don't need money right now. Well, I mean, everybody does need money. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, if you don't have a food stash, if you don't have a 30 to 90 day supply of food, that is going to be your first step, okay? Get that 30 to 90 day goods of food so that you can stay strong and nutritious. The next step would be cash, okay, obviously. And really, at that point, it's just skill sets beyond this. Do you know how to start a fire? Okay, do you know how to do this stuff? And I'm not trying to fearmonger anything here. I'm just letting you guys know that we are always hanging on a thread as a society and a civilization. We are always hanging on a thread. This is something that Carl Jung has talked about in the past as well. Carl Jung has said that society hangs on a thin thread at all times. This is always how it is. Sometimes we just feel the illusion of security so much that, like, because we're not really secure, really. We're in this jungle, right? We're in this concrete jungle. For all intents and purposes, we're in this concrete jungle, and I'm in the mountains here. I feel as though, yes, I'm in the mountains and I'm an animal, but I'm also a being that is beyond that. I've accepted my animalistic qualities, but I also know about the elevated qualities, the transcendental qualities as well. And this is something that we have to recognize if we want to move forward appropriately and properly. We have to recognize that we need to be prepared. We need to cut our expenses down. For crying out loud, stop buying things that you don't need to impress people that don't even give a crap about you anyway. They just care about who your image or what your image is like. That is the lamest thing right now. Men, if you're like going on dates every weekend or whatever, and you're spending, I don't know, God only knows how much you're spending on dates. I've heard some people spend up to $300 on dates per week. To me, that's just mind-blowing, especially considering you're literally blowing $300 per week on different women. Like, you're not even trying to build something with them. this is why I tell men, I wouldn't even spend a dime on a woman until like after a couple hangouts or something like that. Go to the park, go get coffee or whatever, go get some tea. Do little things. You don't need to spend that much money on a woman. Okay? Do what you want to do. Go to the gym. Go on a hike. Something like that. Seriously. You don't need to spend all these fancy dinner dates ideas. Go bowling, for God's sake. Like, go bowling or something. I mean, bowling is actually kind of expensive, but you guys get the point. I'm not trying to, I don't actually think bowling is like a cool date. Some women might think so, but anyway, the point is, hang out with her, talk to her, get to know her before you spend that much fucking money on her. For golly's sake, man. Ugh. Some of those guys, man, I just cannot stand it. But anyways, going back to the main topic here, this hands-off protest, this was something else. And we have to remember that this is all designed to placate the awakened people and put them at odds with one another. It's to make the people so focused and hyper-focused on what is going on politically that they forget that they're on the same freaking team. Okay? And this is going to be one of the signs of the last days, is when God's people are pitted against each other and are actually fighting against each other. I don't see that happening too much right now, but that is something that could be a possibility. But these people are obviously very, very upset, and they're willing to take action for it. Are they being paid? Who knows? I think they're being paid personally. I don't see how they're not being paid. How else are you going to be within days get hundreds, like literally hundreds of different kinds of posters and t-shirts and all of that available, and that, not only that, but tens of thousands of people? There's just no way. There's got to be, there's somebody behind this. There's some kind of organization behind this. I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. It's disturbing. And we got to stay on our P's and Q's. We got to stay well rested and recovered, but also well trained as well. All right. So get your food stash, get your cash, get your skills up. Those are some basic things that you can start doing. Just prepare for this kind of stuff, right? Get a network. This is why we have a network. This is why we have the Regal Change Academy. If you want to check out the link for the Regal Change Academy, it's in the link in the description box below. So with all that being said, I do have a free Telegram subscription channel that you can check out. Also a link in the description box below for that. And then if you want to reach out for a one-on-one mentorship, call me and email me first before we'll get on a call. So with all that being said, I'm feeling hyped up. I'm feeling on alert today because, I knew there was something going on. I knew there was something happening because over the last few days, I've had multiple people reach out to me about the spiritual attacks. I've had spiritual attacks recently, and I didn't know where they were coming from because they weren't really reflected in my life too much. Now I completely see why. They were planning something, man. This is why everything happens in the spiritual before it happens and manifests in the physical. The spiritual stuff that happens is going to reveal what the physical world is going to manifest itself. The spiritual domain is the birthplace for what is happening in the physical world. Okay? Think about it like that. With all that being said, peace be with you all. Until next time.